Hello, this is Hope from Trifold Productions with another Blender quick tip. And in this quick tip, I'm going to introduce everyone to a site that specializes in making or providing 3D furniture specifically for Blender. Excuse me. And I'll leave a link of the site in the descriptive below this add-on or below this tutorial. And it's quite a large amount of assets and models. I mean, they've got pictures and chairs, tables. I think this is a lamp stand. You have I don't want to call it an armoire, but a storage unit. Different models of couches, sofas, more storage. And it just keeps going on. It's like a plethora of different assets. Now, initially I thought this was just OBJ based file format, which means you can use it in any software you want to in Blender, 3ds Max, or any of those, but this is just specifically for Blender. And it's specifically for Blender 3.0 and above. I tried opening up these files because it's a .blend file. I tried opening it up in lower versions of Blender like 2.8, 2.9, and it wouldn't open up, which is kind of strange to me, but apparently you can only open it up in 3.0 and above. But yeah, there's a lot of detail in this furniture. Some of these files are pretty large, and you don't have to pretty much subscribe, so to speak, to this site. It's not like a Blender Kit where you have to sign in and things like that. It's pretty much open, and to download it, any of these assets, just click on it, and once you click on it, you can, like I always say, give towards the developer. You can put 0 here, you can put $2, $3, but basically it's just free. But if you want to help the developer, send some money their way. After you've done that, you click on I want this, and then it'll take you to the next page where you'll have to provide your email address, where it will send you a receipt for your quote-unquote purchase. But just keep in mind that these are free assets, but once again, you can help the developer out by providing them with some funds. And once you've gone through the process, you've downloaded the .blend files, you'll be able to use them. Now, some of them are kind of large. This one, not so much. This is just I think it's a dining room chair. 7 megabytes, which isn't bad. If you go backwards to the home page again, we got to give this some time to load up. And you scroll down, you'll see as you go further down, you'll see you have assets that are more detailed, like this bed here. If you click on the thumbnail, you can see the wrinkles and the crevices that are inside of the fabric itself, the comforter and the pillows. Let's go to the next image. You can see more detail in it. So these are highly detailed assets and models that are used specifically in Blender, which is great. Let's look at a few more before I show you how to open it up in 3.0 Blender version, and how to export it as an OBJ too, because as for myself, like I've mentioned before, on my PC, it can't go higher than 2.9. You put 2.93, that's the highest it can go. So I wouldn't be able to use any of this as is on my PC. So I would have to export it as an OBJ object into that format to use it on my PC at home. But the good thing about these assets and these models is that they come already pretty much, let me see, some of them, they give the descriptive here, but I guess it's on this side now, so excuse me, it's just cold out here, so I've been dealing with a cough because of the weather. It's May, but it's cold, which is kind of weird. Anyway, the file size for this sofa is 38 megabytes, which is not too big, which is fine. FBX format, the ones I've been seeing, I guess that's why you can only use it in 3.0 and above. This is an FBX format instead of OBJ. You can use it in Cycles or Eevee. It's a Creative Commons license. 4K textures, and some of these assets it'll say that they're UV unwrapped, which is helpful also, and they're already textured, which is also quite helpful. And the software is in Blender. Like I said, once you've downloaded it onto your system, you'll have to go to use Blender 3.0 and above, which I've opened that up. This is 3.1, and you're going to just navigate to where you've saved the .blend file. For me, let me see. I'm gonna click on this. Where is it? Yes, I've saved mine here. So I'm gonna left click and highlight the address here. Press Control C to copy that. Then go to File here, Open. I've already done that, but I'm just gonna do it for the sake of do it again for the sake of this tutorial. Left click again. Press Control V, Enter. Double click on that. Click on that and click on Open, and there it is. It's going to populate the textures and everything, which is done. And it's a good looking model. I mean, they're all high-end models, so they have a lot of texture in them, a lot of detail. When I say texture, I mean like you can see these wrinkles at the bottom, because they're supposed to simulate like real furniture. So real furniture, it's not going to be smooth at the bottom where it gathers the cloth to be pinned at the bottom. It's going to have these wrinkles and crevices in the cloth to simulate realism. And you can see the wooden legs. They're just not, basic wooden legs. You can see some, I don't know what you would call this. You can see some, I wouldn't call it trim, but some beveling, I guess that's what it's called, in the legs. So it's highly detailed furniture. You can see the metal spokes at the bottom where the seat is fastened to the legs of the chair. So yeah, it's really high details. You can even see the fabric, the texture in the fabric, which is great. Excuse me. Like I said before, you can't use this directly in lower version of Blender, but you can export it. I'm thinking you can't export it, but let's try. So you left click and left click on this also, and you go to File, excuse me, Export, Wavefront Object, and I'm just going to save it on my desktop. Should I save it on the desktop? Oh yeah, let me just save it on the desktop, and I'm going to type in. Well, that's fine. I'll just leave it as it is, and export. I'm just going to copy the web address here. Control C there. Then export OBJ. Now I'm going to go to Blender 2.8 and import it as an OBJ object into 2.8. So I'm going to, let me see, which one am I going to choose? Let me choose that one. Have that open up. Let me close this other one out. Close out 3.8. Don't save. Let me close that out. Let me delete this cube and go to File, Import, Wavefront Object, left click in that, Control V, Enter, and there it is, Import. And yeah, there it is. So that's the way you can use those furniture assets, those models, which are only native to Blender 3.0 and above in the lower version of Blender, by exporting it as an OBJ wavefront object and importing it into Blender as a wavefront object. You can see all the detail is still there. And that's pretty much it. Now, texture wise, I think you'd have to retexture it. Let me see. Yeah, the textures aren't there, but retexturing is not really a big deal since it's been you can just let's try it. Let's just give it a shot. Let's see. Let's just retexture this. Okay, so I'm going to let me see. Going to split my panel here, and I'm going to go to shader editor. Make sure all this is set up. I'm going to left click on that and make sure your node wrangler is set up here also. And to make sure your node wrangler is set up in Blender, they help you set up nodes a lot faster by just clicking a few buttons. I'm going to go to Edit and Preferences. Let me type in Node here. Yeah, no wrangler. If there's no checkbox there, put a check in the box, and that activates no wrangler. Excuse me. Left click on that node there and press Control T. Let's press G to grab to pull that up, and it sets up all these nodes for you. And we're going to go to, let me see, let's set this up so we can see a lot better. Put in some light there. I'm going to scroll up, turn it from EV to cycles, GPU, compute, and that should be good. Now this has been UV unwrapped, but hopefully those settings have been transferred over to the wavefront objects that we've imported here, because we're just going to use generated and not because we can't use the textures excuse me, the textures that came with the model, because I think those were fabricated or made native to Blender 3.0. So we're just going to have to make our textures by ourselves or apply them ourselves. So we're going to turn from generated to vector. I'm going to take out that off of UV, go to generated, go from point to texture, and then we're going to change our viewport here to cycles. I think we're on the legs. So we're going to go to open. I'm going to navigate to where I keep my textures on my computer. It shouldn't take long. See, Blender. I wasn't really planning on doing the texture part, but I just want to give a full tutorial on how to just, really work with these models if you're not able to acquire or use Blender 3.0. You can still use these models, and not be limited to just one version of Blender. So let me navigate to some wood on my computer. You see, let me go down here. There's some wood up there. Let me go down a little bit more. I think, here's some wood. Let me click on that one, open image. And there's the wood. Now it's kind of stretched out. Let's see if we can fix that a little bit. Let's go turn it from flat to box. And that's a little bit better. So we've applied a wood texture to the legs. And let me see, the part where you sit on, let's see if we can apply texture to that. Let's click on that. Same process, left click on that node set up there. Control T, G to grab and pull that up. Make it turn from UV to generated. Point to texture and open. And we're going to navigate to my textures once again. Now you can go to Texture Haven to find textures. There are all kinds of free textures online. Just type in free texture in the Google search bar and it'll come right up. You'll find all kinds of free textures. I got this from textures.com. That's where I got all my textures from. But let's left click on that. Let me left click on that brown carpet there. Open image. And oh, that looks pretty good. That looks kind of stretched there. And let's see if we can fix that also. We're going from flat to box. And that works out. Yeah. So there we go. So you can use the furniture assets from this site, which can only function in 3.0 as is, 3.0, 3.1 and above as is. Export it as no wavefront object OBJ, so you can use it in other versions of Blender that are not as high as 3.0, or even in 3ds Max or in Maya. So that's today's Blender quick tip, which was a lot longer than I was planning it to be. But yeah, I just want to give you guys a full understanding of how to use these furniture assets in Blender. And once again, thank you guys who have watched the tutorials in the past. Thank you guys who have subscribed in the past. Those of you who are subscribing now. And those of you who will subscribe in the future. Really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, adios.